Not gonna lie, this week I had to officially switch to maternity jeans because the hair tie holding my pant button together was no longer cutting it. It's officially that stage of pregnancy. Well, now that that's out in the open, let's start this podcast. Welcome to Not Gonna Lie, presented by Wave Sports and Entertainment and brought to you by Dunkin. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm your host, Kelce. I am a soon-to-be mom of 4. I am a former field hockey player turned high school field hockey coach. I have a husband that you might know about. He sort of, let's be real, dragged me into this mess. I swiped right and now we're here. I decided to do a podcast because at the end of the day, I tried to stay quiet and sort of do the Homer Simpson roll back into the hedge, and no one was allowing it. There were still articles and people talking about our family. So here's the deal. If you're going to talk about our family, you're going to talk about me, you might as well hear it from me. I ran this idea past Jason, my parents, my friends, and everyone just sort of said, yeah, do it. So I couldn't find someone that would discourage me, which I was really hoping for that. But because of the positive feedback, this is where we are now. So we're going to be figuring this out together as we go. I am by no means a professional at podcasting. And yes, I have a degree in communication, but that means nothing. Because when I push my kids out, I push my brain out with them. I am going to be doing my best to just overall be honest. That's the whole premise of the show. I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to start with honest thoughts on trending stories in parenting, social media, sports, entertainment. At least that's what my producers say. And I will say the other day, someone asked me what the podcast would be about. And my very simple summary was women, sports, and motherhood. So if any of those topics strike you as interesting, maybe this is the place for you. And then also each week, I'm going to get to talk to an incredible guest, people that I have absolutely no business talking to, like aggressively no business talking to. And as always, just stick with me. If you've watched another podcast that I know the hosts of, they got better with time too. So I would really appreciate some patience, please. Unlike my husband and my brother-in-law, I don't have all the time in the world. I actually have to watch their podcasts in segments. I have to break it up over the course of probably a week sometimes. No hate on them, but I don't have time like that. And I'm assuming that people listening to this are in a similar boat, busy, maybe moms that just don't have all day to be tuning into a podcast. So we will do our absolute best to keep this podcast under 45 minutes. That is including the guest interview so that you really feel like you haven't missed a thing. Coming up on the first episode of Not Gonna Lie, since this is a brand new show, we figured you guys should probably get to know me better. My producer, we're going to call her Queen Emma. That's because over at the other podcast, they have reduced an executive producer. This is spoiler alert, an executive producer down to an intern. That's right. You heard me. Intern Brandon is in fact an executive producer. But you know what we do over here? We lift people up, specifically women supporting women. So Queen Emma, my producer, suggested that we play a game of 20 questions. And I'm quickly going to negate myself by disobeying the queen. I'm busy. We're not doing 20 questions. We're doing 5-ish questions. That's what we have time for. After all that, we will bring on our first guest ever that I have, again, no business speaking to. But first, before we get to these 5-ish questions, I just want to take a second to thank everyone for the truly insane response to my show announcement. Apparently, the trailer was #1 on Apple Podcasts. This is news to me. How the fuck did that happen? It was like a minute-long clip, guys. I will take it. Thank you so much. I also got a ton of comments from you guys and wanted to read a few. So at K McKee, you watch other people try to read handles and you don't think that it's ever going to happen to you. So here we are. If I butcher it, I'm so sorry. From at K McKee 88. Girlfriend is having a 4th baby and starting a podcast. I have 3 kids and am wondering if I can manage a shower today. Go get 'em, lady. 3 fire emojis. I would love to say that I manage a shower every day, but Kay, you and me might be in the same boat. I appreciate the encouragement, but you're probably doing a fantastic job. From at Nasland Matilda, oh my gosh, this is a train wreck reading handles. Kylie hosting a radio show and writing for the newspaper in college kind of makes her the most qualified in the Kelce family to do a podcast. It was about time. Matilda, thank you so much for that vote of confidence. Lower the bar. Lower it. I need those expectations. I need you to bring them down. Okay. Cabrini Communications Department, specifically Jill Smith with the radio. We did do podcasting courses. Okay. Jay-Z, my journalist professor, outstanding. Really, Don Frank. I mean, I could shout out every professor I had in the communication department. Outstanding squad. Still doesn't mean I'm qualified for this. The next person from at Geraldine. That's actually a really cool name if that's actually your name. And I got that right. I'm seated. The podcast employees are scared and asking me to leave because it's, quote, not December yet, but I'm simply too seated. Thank you so much. I did see a couple people say they are seated. I have since, based on context clues, figured out what that means. I really appreciate that. There was a lot of commentary about me swearing in front of my children. A lot. Not in the initial bunch, but in the second wave, which brings me to the debut edition of a segment I'm calling, you guessed it, Fuck Around and Find Out. The New York Post fucked around with yet another headline. Kylie claims she curses in front of her children daily. What do experts say about that? The problem that I have here is, was it probably an exaggeration that I curse in front of my kids every day? Yes. Do I curse in front of my kids most days? Also, yes. But my kids know, like I said before, that they are grown-up words. They don't try to use them. They don't say them. They don't stop in their tracks. They're not appalled by them because I'm not using them at my children. They're just used in front of my children. I will say, if you say stupid, if you say shut up, if you say loser, they will stop you. Specifically stupid and shut up. Feel very strongly about those. You will get in trouble with my children. If you say those words in our house, those are bad words. We do not say shut up and we do not say stupid. Other than that, free range. I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, I'm teaching my kids kindness. I'm teaching them to be funny and strong and independent. They'll probably curse when they're older. And I stand by that. If they choose not to, that's okay too. At the end of the day, I'm trying to raise good little girls into strong, independent women. And last time I checked, I shouldn't have to censor myself as a independent woman. And that does it for my first installment of Fuck Around and Find Out. I'm very excited to shout out my first sponsor here on Not Gonna Lie because we landed Dunkin. When I say I love Dunkin, I mean it. I stop by my favorite Dunkin location almost every day after dropping the girls off at school. You know, in the movies and TV shows, when people go into a restaurant, they order the usual. That's the level I'm at with my Dunkin people. I love them over there. And if you're wondering what my usual is at Dunkin, I'm about to tell you, and it might change your life. A medium, half decaf, iced coffee with almond milk, extra ice, and 2 pumps of the sweet nectar butter pecan. Okay? I was so into the butter pecan when they brought it in as a limited flavor that my field hockey team knew it. Knew it to the point that when they brought it back and announced that it was here to stay, my entire field hockey team told me the minute I showed up to practice. And that's love. Make sure you order my favorite butter pecan iced coffee at your local Dunkin' today or order ahead of time on the Dunkin' app. You're going to thank me. Let's get to the 5-ish questions from Queen Emma. Number 1, has Benny come around since the pregnancy announcement photo you posted? No, she absolutely has not. When I tell you that Benny feels deeply and personally victimized by the fact that we chose to give her another sibling, I mean that with my whole chest. She, when other babies or little kids come over and they try to sit in my lap, she physically removes them. So we are about to ruin her day. That pregnancy announcement got some responses. One in particular on TikTok by @LibbyLouWho. Thank you for making that an easy handle, by the way. They made a response that I absolutely loved. Let's take a look.
I'm not a comedian, but I know that there's a joke in there somewhere after seeing Kelsey's pregnancy announcement and her beautiful girls that look exactly like her husband, Jason. Kylie needs to bring jeans for Kylie in this pregnancy, in this child. Oh my gosh. But they're all adorable.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are so lucky that my husband makes cute girls, that if you make him into a little girl, that we've made adorable ones. Because when you look at Wyatt's baby pictures and Jason's baby pictures side by side, it looks like we have cloned him. And I complained a lot when Wyatt arrived that it looked like I had nothing to do with it. And if I had not pushed her out myself, I would not believe that I had any part in making her. Then I got Ellie, who now the internet has run away with the fact that she looks like Travis, which I am slightly offended by. I will share with Queen Emma a photo of myself from when I was a child. I was blonde. I had one dimple. I very much feel as though Ellie could pass for looking like mom. So if we could hop off the whole Ellie looks like Travis train, that would be greatly appreciated, because that's the only one I have any chance of having any claim to when it comes to looking alike. Let's see what jury's still out on the 4th one, but Benny is definitely another Jason lookalike. So trust me, Libby Lou Who, I am trying desperately here to make a child that has any resemblance to me. On a more positive note, people in the comments did mention that their sons looked like them. We don't have that recipe. So number 2 question. This is Not Gonna Lie after all. So can you be honest about pregnancy? Yes, I can. I always say I am so incredibly grateful to be able to get pregnant. Unbelievably grateful. I have realized in my adult life that it is not as easy to get pregnant as we were originally led on to believe in high school. Okay. You can't just look at someone and whoop, there it goes. It's not that easy. And so I am so incredibly grateful to be able to get pregnant. but it is a means to an end. When I tell you that I cannot stand being pregnant, I mean it. I don't have a fun time. I am nauseous for most of my pregnancy. It tapers off a little after the first trimester. For every single one, it's been the same. It tapers off a little bit, but I continue to have nausea throughout my pregnancy. I have had aversions more than cravings for every pregnancy. When you're super pregnant and someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, isn't this just the most beautiful thing ever?" I want to punch you in the face. I'm not going to, but I want to. I know that it's a girl every time. I've known this since we found out Ellie was a girl. Benny and this baby, I have known both times that they were girls again. We've never done a gender reveal. I'm not big on gender reveals because I do think there's always some degree of bias, whether you realize it or not. To be completely transparent, when we found out we were having Ellie and Ellie was a girl, I cried for a solid 30 minutes. I'm not talking about like that I was sad. I'm talking about a full heaving cry for 30 minutes because I felt different in the beginning of that pregnancy. And I had somehow convinced myself in my subconscious, not even knowingly, that it was a boy. And so when I heard that it was a girl, I completely lost it. And to be clear, I hold only the slightest bit of guilt about that because then we met Ellie and she was the sweetest, most lovely little girl, and she still is. But there's always this underlying, you kind of lean in one direction. I always tell people we want healthy babies. Everyone thinks we went for a fourth to try for a boy. I knew we were going to get a girl. So I want healthy babies. I've said on my TikTok that I had a loss before Wyatt. And so it made pregnancy a different experience for me. So healthy babies, that's what it is. That's what we're looking for. But I do not like being pregnant. It's not fun. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. Since I have not had the joy of having a ton of cravings, I would love to hear what some of yours are. I do find, especially this pregnancy, that sometimes when people say something, usually it's not a funky pregnancy craving. It's just a specific food that I then want it. So maybe we can set off some cravings. Tag me on TikTok with some of your pregnancy cravings. I would love to see what they are. Maybe we could even try some out. Our handle is at NGL with Kylie. And if we don't try them out, at the very least, we can talk about them on the show and maybe get an initial reaction for some really funky ones. Question number 3. It's well known that you watch the kids while Jason podcasts. Will Jason be watching the girls while you do this show? How do I say this nicely? No. When I have to do something, coaching, something for Eagles Autism Foundation, something for podcast, a doctor's appointment even, I will schedule childcare. My husband could tell me 72 times that he is going to be in the house during the times when I have to leave it. I will still schedule childcare. And it is not a knock on my husband. My husband is busier than he has ever been. I see him less now in retirement than I did when he was playing football. We had a set schedule then. Now it is an absolute free-for-all. He is working so hard and really grinding right now. And so I just make sure that I'm covered. And if that means that he's at the house and someone else is there just to cover or make up the difference, then that's what we have going on. But he will not be watching the kids. He's not watching them right now. I think he's in meetings. Question number 4, can you try to describe to people what the last 2 years of your life have been like? How much time do we have? last 2 years have been interesting. When I said that I prefer to be behind the scenes, I very much meant that. I don't love to have attention on me. If we're going to get really deep in the weeds, I think it has something to do with the fact that I've always been very tall. And so I've always been trying to distract from like, you don't need to stare at me. I know I'm tall. I don't like attention on me. And so the last 2 years have forced me to find a way to turn it into a positive, to figure out how to control the narrative, and to embrace it. And I think that perfectly sums up why we're here. I think that there definitely were layers to it. The fact that I was super pregnant with Benny when the Eagles and the Chiefs played in the Super Bowl, and I brought my OBs with me. It doesn't help when your husband and brother-in-law are rooting for you to give birth inside of an NFL stadium. I'm still holding a grudge for that one. They're lucky it didn't happen. And then the documentary hit. I think that it is, again, I have very much found a way to embrace it and find ways to spin it to be positive. I have increased visibility, which then makes it so that things that I talk about have increased visibility. And if I can do things to impact field hockey, women's sports in general, different philanthropic endeavors or charities that I feel strongly about, then we can we can take a positive spin on this. So, although I would prefer to have dug a hole in the backyard and hidden it, here we are. Question number 5, of these 5 places you've claimed you had no business being, which do you have the most no business being at? WrestleMania, in a music recording studio, haha, Milan Fashion Week, the Today Show, and the Paris Olympics. I'm going to go ahead right out of the gate and say I have the least business being in a music recording studio. I would say a close second runner-up is probably tied for Milan Fashion Week and WrestleMania. I went to Milan Fashion Week because one of my dear, dear friends, Elena, was inviting me to be a guest of hers to a couple shows. And it was an incredible experience that I really genuinely had no business being at, because I am one of the most unfashionable people you'll ever meet. I wear my white chucks, cuffed jeans, and a plain t-shirt pretty much every time you tell me to leave the house when I can't wear athletic clothing. I got 2 looks. That's it. The only time I dress in other looks is usually when other people give me some help. So talk about women lifting women. But the reason I have no business being in a recording studio is because I have not sang since I was in high school choir. And when I tell you, I only took that class because my sister took it and she highly recommended the teacher. I had no business, none. The reception on the song has been delightful and kind and very generous. It was amazing to be able to record a song with Jason, and the person who wrote the song is someone who has worked on the album for the last 3 years, and you could tell how much he really poured his heart and soul into the lyrics and what it meant, and it spoke to Jason and I. So, but I still have no business being in that recording studio. So that is absolutely the winner. I said it earlier, I'm a huge fan of Dunkin. Even though I may go there most days, there's really no better time to stop by your local Dunkin than during the holidays. This time of year, you've probably got all sorts of holiday parties and family gatherings. So why not show up with a few festive boxes of donuts and munchkins from Dunkin to really get the party started? I know I'm headed to a couple holiday parties this season, I will absolutely be showing up with that beautiful box. People will love to see me coming. Nothing brings instant holiday cheer like a dozen donuts from Dunkin. You can pick all your favorite flavors and feel confident you showed up with the best dessert. Treat yourself or someone you love this holiday season and give them the gift of Dunkin. From sprinkled to frosted, powdered to jelly, there's a donut for everybody, and everybody loves a donut. Order in person today at your local Dunkin' location or order ahead of time on the Dunkin' app. So I have absolutely no business talking to our guest today, like I've said before, but I'm so glad I'm getting to do it anyway. You know her from her hilarious roles on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Hacks, and her new hit show that I absolutely love, High Potential. She is a fellow mom, honorary Philadelphian, and the rightful owner of my oddly highly sought after Eagles jacket. It is Kaitlin Olson. Kaitlin, thank you so much for being on today.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's exciting.
Thank you for some reason agreeing to be the first guest on here.
It's really my pleasure. It's an honor.
It's full guinea pig status because it is, I've told everyone already at this episode to have low expectations.
No, come on. Disagree.
But, I mean, with a guest like you, I feel like this is the perfect way to start off.
This is it. We're going to do it.
Let's talk about one of the things that connected us last year.
Yes.
I mean, we have not, like I said, when you hopped on, we have not had the opportunity of getting to meet in person, but also just getting to chat in general. So, the Eagles jacket last year, thank you so much. You and Rob were so incredibly generous to a foundation that is so near and dear to my heart. And you guys actually crashed the auction site.
Good.
So
that was our goal.
Impressive. For anyone who isn't familiar with the story, can you explain how you guys got involved?
Yeah. So I saw on Twitter that Rob had bid on this Eagles jacket that was so incredible that you were auctioning off for the Autism Foundation. And I was like, why would he do that? It's an organization that's near and dear to our heart too. And I was like, why would he do that without consulting me? And so I thought it would be funny to outbid him without him knowing it and then just be anonymous and then tell him later that I won it. But I just loved that I loved that it was signed by you. I loved that you were wearing it. I was like, what is this fool doing? It's clearly a women's jacket. And then I got it and Kylie, it is not a women's jacket.
It's very oversized.
It's huge. It's heavy. You can only wear it for 20 seconds before you're sweating and you have to take it off. But I love it. It is my most prized possession. I love it.
That is so sweet. Similar to my husband, you're not from Philly, but I feel like in similar fashion, you've become a Philadelphia legend.
It's incredible. I mean, we are just so, not a day goes by where we don't realize how crazy this life is that we've been on this show that's about this city for 17 years. It's just insane. And then we met there and we have kids because of it. So Philadelphia is so special to me. And I, most of my in-laws still live there. We love going back there. It's such a special city. And they just have really embraced us and like they're fiercely protective of our show. And I just feel so honored. And as far as the Eagles, I grew up in Oregon. We didn't have a football team besides the Ducks, go Birds in general. And so I was very happy to jump on that bandwagon. And I've been a hardcore fan ever since. And so are my kids.
Something I'm really excited to talk about on this show is motherhood and parenting. And I know, like you said, you have 2 boys. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're outnumbered? Because right now in our household, Jason is really feeling the opposite side of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We just accidentally also have 3 male pets.
Naturally.
So, yeah. So I've got kids, a husband, the animals are all dudes. It's very, yes, it's strange, especially now that when they were babies, I didn't really feel like that because, babies and toddlers are babies and toddlers. I didn't really feel like whatever, a lot of dudes, but now they're 12 and 14 and I'm like, okay, great. Why don't you all go off and come back in a few years when you need me again? Yeah.
Now, do you think that raising boys is easier? Because I have been on record saying that my mother-in-law has scared the living daylights out of me when it comes to raising boys.
Yeah. Okay. I think it depends on the stage. It's funny that you say that because what I just said was like, oh, babies are all babies. Then they enter preschool and you're like, oh, there's already psychological warfare in preschool among little girls. And my kids are like, I don't know. They seem to be very mean to each other. I remember Leo coming home one day. He was like 4 and I asked about some kids in class and he was like, Lori's just really mean to all of the other girls, but they all want to be friends with her. And I'm like, yeah.
There she is, top dog.
There she is. Yeah, I know that game. That was Peggy Lee in my school. Yeah, I think that it can be much easier in the beginning, but I don't know. Now I'm like, I'm out of my comfort zone. I wasn't a boy, so it's like, well, you be the one to hold the door open and stuff, but also she's an equal. So it's very confusing. Be a gentleman, but also, you're not like better than her. She can also drive and pay for things. It's very confusing. We'll figure it out. You're like chivalry isn't dead, but also equality is great.
Yeah. That must be a really hard line to work.
Like you need to be nurtured too, but also don't forget to always give her a hug and, make sure you're checking in on her emotions. I don't know.
Oh God, you're making me feel even better settled into 4 girls.
Congratulations, by the way, on your 4
Thank
girls.
You.
I had no idea you were pregnant. That's so exciting.
Yes. No, we're very excited. I keep saying I have not yet been peed on by a baby while changing a diaper.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I will most likely get to continue that streak.
Oh, it's kind of nice though, It's a good core memory.
It keeps you awake.
Yeah. The first time my mother-in-law visited after Axel was born, I was changing his diaper and she was standing right behind him and I lifted his legs to pull the diaper underneath and he just projectile diarrheaed all over her. I was like,
yes. I will say I have been on the receiving end of that.
Yes. Well, pee's really not that bad then. I don't know what you're worried about.
It was a one-time thing. I'm hoping it stays that way. Even though we're both seasoned veterans in the parenting game, which I say that very loosely.
Same.
I would say
we all do.
Yep. We're all just figuring it out.
Something new just pops up. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Do you have any memories specifically of a moment where you just really had no idea what you were doing?
Yeah, definitely. My kids are only a year apart and there was a night and I was nursing, the baby. And in the middle of the night, got up and the baby was hungry. I was nursing him. He had diarrhea everywhere. And then my 1.5-year-old started screaming in his bed because he did like a whole night terror thing for a long time. And I cleaned him up, put him back. I'm trying to comfort the other one. The other one starts screaming and I'm just like running back and forth. The baby had thrown up in his crib. So he had now diarrhea and throw up. So he was clearly sick. The other one's still screaming. I was like, I don't know how to be in 2 places at once. How do I divide myself? And Axel was only 18 months old. So I couldn't talk to him and tell him what was going on and that I would be right back. I don't know how people have twins or 3. I don't know what you're doing or what you're thinking, but I think count me out.
Twins, multiples is the one where every single time before I go to my first ultrasound, I have a nightmare. Every single time I've had the same nightmare of them being like, do twins run in your family?
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
You can fuck right off.
Yeah, no.
No, thank you.
Take one of them and do something else with it.
Yeah.
Give it to someone else.
Can you put one on hold for me?
Yes.
I'll take it in 2 years.
Yeah. I need this one to be able to talk.
Time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh gosh, I don't know how that works. Yeah. But that was the one time where I was like, but you know what? Those things are so great. And it's hard to explain that to a new mom because you're like, I got through it. We figured it out. And then I woke up the next day and everyone was fine and we figured it out. And then I was like, and it's so crazy because I have a kind of an anxious child and I'm always sort of talking to him about like, I don't know what it's going to look like when we get there, but I know that we're going to figure it out. And I trust you that you're just going to be in the moment and you're going to figure it out. You're going to ask a question or you're going to look around. I don't know, but you're going to figure it out. And that's so hard to like really believe, but it's such a beautiful thing when you go through it and you're like, I don't know how I did that, but I figured it out. Now I'm like, oh, now I trust myself. And I think it takes those times.
No, I do think there have there are times in motherhood where you do something, you get through a moment, you get through your first illness, you get through sort of those milestones where you're like, shit, there was a moment there I thought I was not going to be able to get through that.
Yeah.
And now I'm on the other side of it. And I'm like, yes, I did.
Yeah. And there's no bailing.
It's empowering. Yes.
Yeah. You can't.
Oh, no, there's no opt out.
No. You're forced to figure it out. Yeah.
Yes.
There's no like pause button. Yeah. You just do it.
No. Yes. There is a strength in that is very empowering.
Yeah.
Now, my oldest just recently told me, just out of the blue for fun, to tear me down, that she is no longer my child. She's 5 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
The other
Whose
day.
child is she?
That's a great question. I'd love to tell you.
Okay.
She didn't have an answer for that.
Okay.
But she said she's no longer my child. Is there anything that your kids have said to you that has stuck with you as one of the wildest or maybe the funniest thing that they've said to you?
I mean, yeah. So the other day, Leo, we were like laying in my bed. We were watching a Wrexham game in the morning. Leo and I watched that together, and Axel and Rob watched it downstairs. And he was laying there and we were laughing. He cracks me up more than anyone in the world. And he was just like looking at me and I was like, that's so sweet. He's just loving me. And he goes, why do you have little holes all over your face? And it wasn't mean at all. I was like, those are called pores. Everyone has them. And he was like, I don't think everybody has those. And I was like,
thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to get up and brush my teeth and go downstairs. Apparently I have large pores, everyone.
That is, yep. That
very honest.
They're here to humble us.
Yeah.
They really are.
He didn't mean it in a mean way. Just curious.
No. Yes. There is a refreshing factor to the honesty that is, and the innocence in the questions. Yeah.
But don't think I didn't use a pore reducing toner that evening. I did.
1,000%. Yes.
Took the note.
You're like, I'm not going to let this get me, but I'm going to Google pore minimizers immediately. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm not going to not do anything.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about your incredibly impressive career.
Oh.
You've been doing a lot of stuff separately from It's Always Sunny. And with your work on Hacks and High Potential, which, again, I am such a huge fan of.
Thank you.
I have absolutely loved it.
Oh, good.
Speaking of empowering women, I just love the idea that she is just, living and absolutely crushing it with the high IQ. And I love the observant, what did you pick up? And then you're watching the beginning of the show and you're like, okay, what can I catch that you're going to catch later?
Oh, good. I love that.
Every episode, I'm like, all right, this is going to be the one where I get it. And then I never do.
Oh, I love that.
No, it's fun. Was it an intentional choice for you to break off from It's Always Sunny? And how does that feel now?
Yes, it was. So, the things that I'm usually offered are very sweet D characters. And my thought is I'm honored and flattered and I love that, but I already have that character. And I happen to think that our show nails it. And I'm so proud of it. So there's no replicating that for me. And I wanted to do something different because I would get bored if I was just doing the same thing over and over. There's so many other things to do. And I love acting. I don't love just dick and ball jokes. So, they're great. But this came along and I'll be honest, I was not interested in a network drama. I was like, what are you talking about? But then I read it and the script was so good. And I just loved the character so much. I loved that speaking of just figuring it out, she's just winging it. She's just as flustered as everyone else just because she has a high IQ. She's just one foot in front of the other. It's chaos at home. She loves her kids more than anything in the world, just scrappy. And then she just pulls it together and stands up for herself. I just thought it was a great character. And I was excited about the idea of more authentic human emotions and not just screaming and being irate over everything, which is also super fun.
Well, I am very much looking forward to the fact that High Potential will be coming back for its mid-season premiere on January 7th.
Yes.
I can't wait.
And at that point, I believe it will be available in Canada and Europe on Disney Plus.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
We just give it to everyone.
That's right.
Let them have it.
Just freshly dropped that information.
We have to get into It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
This podcast is called Not Gonna Lie, so I have to tell you.
Okay.
I've never seen a full episode of It's Always Sunny. And I'm not proud of that. And I feel like it's a little sacrilegious.
I find this so refreshing and so confusing.
This feels,
Have you been nervous about this?
Can I, a little, because here's the thing. I still like when we were prepping and I saw like Punk'd and some other stuff. And I'm like, I can still remember seeing I am genuinely a fan of yours.
I love this. This is even better, I think.
I feel like someone who is like when people walk up to Jason and they have sort of this like truth serum effect of them being like, I'm not a football fan. I feel like that's me being like, I've never seen It's Always Sunny in a full episode.
Listen, I find that so refreshing. By the way, what a compliment that you already were a fan and you didn't even know me for the thing that most people know me for. So I'm going to take it as a straight up compliment.
You know, the best part is that since the jacket and since really like High Potential, because I've been talking about it and watching it. And so my algorithm has adjusted. I've seen so many more It's Always Sunny clips on my social media.
That's so funny.
But what if you had to tell me to sort of tune into a couple top episodes of It's Always Sunny, and the one where my husband was him and Bo were cameo in there, that doesn't count. Okay. What would you say were the ones I should see immediately?
I really personally, selfishly love the gang broke D. That's a really fun one. Oh God, we've done so many. I can't even remember the names of the episodes. I just remember like the scenes. There's the one where Dennis and Dee get addicted to crack. That's just like a classic. And that's from like season 3 or something like that. You got to see The Nightman Cometh.
To be fair, I have like Jason watches the show. And so I've been in the room for, yes, exactly. Okay. And so I like fully understand sort of the premise and I love the humor of it. It's just that like one of those things where I've just never sat down and
I get it.
Dedicated. It's,
by the way,
we're going to blame motherhood. Perfect.
You can blame motherhood. You have 3 of them and another one on the way. Yeah. How do you have time to watch anything? Jason did, like I said, a cameo a few seasons ago. Were you on set that day? Did you have to witness that nonsense? He was awesome. And no, so that wasn't that when we win the Super Bowl? Like we're in charge. I believe so. Yeah. No, so he got to work with Charlie. I mean, I saw them and said hi and everything, but I wasn't in those scenes, but he was awesome and not surprising that he's gone on to be in front of the camera. He was great. I love Jason. I think he's great. Try living with him. I don't want to do that. I'm kidding. I love him. I'm going to keep him. Keep him. You just made another baby with him. I know. Hopefully another cute one. That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you so much again for being the first guest ever on Not Gonna Lie. Yeah. I am so excited to have an honorary Philadelphian, someone who is just a boss in her own right and absolutely doing something that I genuinely am so invested in right now. Thank you. That's a wrap on episode 1. Thank you again to our guest, Kaitlin Olson. Make sure you check out the mid-season premiere of High Potential on ABC in January. Now, because I said this show would not go over 45 minutes, I'm a woman of my word. I'm not gonna lie. I talked to Kaitlin for a longer conversation. You can find more never before seen clips on YouTube. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the show on all social media at NGL with Kylie. Not Gonna Lie is presented by Wave Sports and Entertainment and brought to you by Dunkin. Thank you guys again for tuning in.